Hey, g'day everybody, welcome back to Atlas, and we're looking at the patch notes that are about to release tomorrow, or at least that's when I'm recording it. We're here over on H9, I9, J9 and K9, which is the new islands. The Great Temple is what you're going to be able to build. This will basically be a blank pad from where you'll be able to build the first level. So this is actually the first level already built. Somebody's already built it here on the test server. And to be able to get that far, you're going to need to use the Cursed Temple. In the Cursed Temple, you're going to need the Monuments Studies modular room, and that will allow you to build the Great Temple exterior, which is this thing over here. And once you've actually built the exterior, there's then a progress section down here, this little pyramid here, and from in here you can actually see what you need to progress from one stage to the next until you get to stage 6. These requiring ever-increasing resources to be able to do each one, and different types of resources as you go along. And it's anticipated that it will take you a week of real time to be able to progress each stage. And once you've actually built the Great Pyramid, the first company to do so will get a plus 20 fortitude buff for this season and the next. I assume that it's only that one next season, and that if you end up, when you move into that next season, one company will have the buff carrying on, and then if another company builds the temple first, you then have two companies simultaneously achieving the plus 20 fortitude buff. The only critical part to this is lawless claim, and so you will need to claim the area with a lawless claim before you can build. So on PvP it can be stolen from you, and then on PvE it means that once someone's built the tower, you've got to wait for it to decay before you can actually get access to it. I'm hoping it means that people won't be able to grief it, because you know, on PvE, one company, if they're fast enough, they could basically put a tower down on every single one of these, and then you've got one company that locks the whole bloody process out for everybody else. And we've been seeing that with the Cursed Altars, with people trying to actually build over the top of the Cursed Altars and locking people out from them, just because, you know, some people don't like sharing. But, you know, that's the way that it is, unfortunately, and we'll see how that one plays out, but I can see not very nice things happening there, and we'll see who gets to get the buff first. Anyway, next up, let's go and have a look at the Tramp Freighter. So to build the Tramp Freighter, you're going to need the Advanced Shipyard, and in the skill tree you need to move into the Seamanship down to the Shipwright level. Now, it's actually quite a cheap ship, there's no gold involved, and it looks like they've actually changed a few of the icons for these ones into something that's a bit of a nicer picture, but it's only 800 fibre, 100 metal, 800 thatch, 1000 wood. Make sure that the patch notes are the same. Yeah, it's about the same. Excellent. We'll chuck a few things on there. We can build a Tramp Freighter. Boom, it's done. Now, when we actually have a look at this, you can see it's got the Kraken style railing, so it is still just the plain ship. It's not a new style. It's not based on the mortar ship. It's not based on those other things. It looks like it's still based on the Kraken ship, but you get 4 cargo racks. Apparently the sail points are 5, the modular points are 12, and oh no, you can actually walk down there. Sometimes you clip your head on there, so that one seems to have been fixed. Nice. Alright, and so this is basically the Tramp Freighter. It's a nice cheap ship to start off with. It's got the 2 modules side by side, lots of cargo racks, and it has a base of a normal one at 4,000 weight. Release the ship. We'll get it out a little bit. Alright, let's get up there and have a look at it. Yeah, I mean, I already saw it pretty well, but it is, you know, it's a basic starter ship that you're able to use to haul stuff. It costs no gold. It's basically built in the, I suppose the Advanced Shipyard, it costs 1,000 gold, and so you have to weigh up your choices there. You know, you can build your 500 gold small shipyard, which will get you access to the schooner, or you can build this thing. I seem to recall that the Tramp Freighter was also going to be found in Sunken Treasures, so it's probably worth noting that whether we can get the base level one immediately like this, or whether you only get them from Sunken Treasures, is probably worth noting. Alright, next up, let's have a look at the miscellaneous stuff first, as we've got a massive list of fixes which I'll leave to the end. But on the miscellaneous stuff, I already talked about this a little bit with my last little update, which was that most food and drink recipes now will have a stack size of 30. There was quite a few that had 5. Grenades can now be stored in ammunition storage. There's been UI changes to the chat box when creating a Pathfinder. They've added the tiny shipyard back into the basics of sailing, which you craft in your inventory. The maximum durability has been increased on shipyards. Now, an interesting change here, vegetables and herbs can now be stored in the silo. Whereas previous to this, it was kind of only the berries. but now you can put vegetables and herbs in there as well. Cows and lions have increased mating ranges, so that is actually the distance that you have to have them together before they will start mating. You can basically have them a little bit further apart. They've reduced the effectiveness of small and medium sails on modular ships. You probably wouldn't have seen that with the modular ships, they were going stupidly fast, but they've only done that to small and medium sails. So it'll be interesting to see, because I mean they've said here that they've reduced the maximum sails available on the broadsider. But what's to stop the large sails on the modular ships still sending them as really fast? Interesting to see if they still got more tweaks to go with that one. Dragon Tongue's Delight is now classified as a drink. Cursed Grog can be put in a keg. And from the PvP side of things, there's been a big change here around stun. I remember them saying that they basically don't like the idea that someone can be stun locked indefinitely. And so the mace stun duration has been reduced, and the mace stun ability cooldown has been increased. So you're stunned for less, and you can do the stun less often. Shield Bash, its ability also cooldown has been increased as well, so you can shield bash less often. And lastly, the shipyards now give gold when you demolish them. But that's really just the miscellaneous changes. And next up, we'll have a look at the bug fixes. There's a big list here, so I'm hoping I'll be able to smash them out. I know that there's a few interesting ones, so I may end up just pausing as I go along, but let's try and just smash these out. The fire visuals on some of the auto farms were kind of off to the side when they were running. They've apparently been fixed. The schooner and the raft could disappear from the small shipyard after a server reset. The transient nodes would not necessarily change position after a week. The quest markers were in the wrong grid. The interaction of the irrigation system and the grill would cause unintended effects. Players were able to damage other players in PvE on some Freeport Islands. Trying to replace a sail would not correctly subtract the amount of sail points from the old sail. Now, I had seen that happen before, actually, because it meant you could just put heaps and heaps of sails down. But then when things restarted, it caused things to go haywire too. Anyway, yeah. Waves could not allow or disallow sail placement. The weight not being correctly calculated when placing items on dinghy hangar railings. Using the portal to the Kraken's lair caused the player to spawn in facing the wrong direction. Grids have Freeport Island selections when respawning. Okay. Holes in the ocean. So I don't reckon that they would have fixed all of them, but you know, sometimes you go to an island, there'd be a hole you could see through to the ground, and there's actually a case where you're coming up the emergency ladder, and sometimes it would flick on and off where you could see everything under the ocean clear as day. It's interesting to see if that's fixed as well. Game crashes where players would be stuck unable to reconnect. That's probably a very big one. So that one, I wonder if that's the infinite loop some people were getting in, where it would say that you're in one grid, but the system database would say you're in the other, and you just get this infinite log-on loop, which would eventually just crash you out to the main menu and you couldn't get on. Potentially that. I don't know. We'll see. Some modular rooms could be placed on pillars. Tutorial volume was not controlled by the options. Storage block can now be crafted at the smithy. Using the transient tracker while activating the map would cause the compass to be invisible. Placing structures on pillars would allow them to float. Pathfinders losing proper movement after teleporting while crouching. That's always a funny one to read. So yeah, if you crouched while going through a teleport, you would lose your proper movement. And I wish I could actually have a recording of that, because I reckon that would be funny to watch. Some structures would be placed on Freeport Islands. Broadsiders spawning too far back on the shipyards. You can actually see one of my previous videos. That's one of my more recent ones to this video, and it's only about a minute long, but yeah, I almost had a submarine. It's quite funny. Where players could replace sails disregarding collision. Quest markers being in the incorrect locations. Dyes not being highlighted or being able to craft. Dam smithy being built on ships. Songstone being built on ships. Monument studies having the incorrect model. Altar of the dams were spawning iridium ingots. Damned smithies were not placeable near the C11 Altar of the Damned. NPCs that attached to cannons, puckles and sails were not taking damage. Now I find that one an interesting one, because I've seen people using, at least on the PvE, you would have a foundation at ground level, put an NPC on a puckle, and hostile creatures in the area would be drawn to the NPC. They couldn't kill it, but because they're on a puckle, it would kill all the creatures. So it became basically this invincible guard that could prevent hostile creatures from coming into your base. Unnatural Fog Ritual would crash the server, always a good one to fix. Blueprint ships would not be created with 100% durability. Treasure maps found in Tortuga would lead to outside of Tortuga. Multiple taxation banks can spawn at seaforts. Now that's a new one because I've seen that one happen quite a lot. And it was kind of like the Ark artifacts on servers where it's like when you first knock down the bank or when you first pick up the artifact and immediately another one would spawn in, so a bank or an artifact. But what's actually happening is when you first break it, the timer for the next one starts when it shouldn't actually have started, and so that timer would reach 0. It wouldn't actually spawn another one because there's one already there, but when you break the bank it immediately spawns another one, and then the timer would start again, which is why when you kill the second bank it doesn't spawn a third straight away. But leave it long enough, the timer would run down, it would go, oh okay, I need to set up my next timer, and again you get in the case where you smash one and another one would immediately reappear. Multiple small sails could be placed at the front of the turtle ship. Ships of the Damned would ignore some modular ships, specifically the Broadsider, as I found out the other day. Structure Placer would incorrectly display available snap points. Island claim points are reset to 0 after a server restart. Oh yeah, I heard about that one. Yeah, kind of companies would basically get an island. You've spent 80, 100 points claiming an island, and then the server would restart, you get all the points back and go and claim another island. Blueprinted ship modules would not start with 100% durability. Alright, well that's the big long list of fixes. There's quite a lot there, there's quite a lot of good stuff. Between the miscellaneous, the fixes, and obviously they already were going to introduce the Tramp Fader as a ship, and now they're completing this great temple, which they were one of the big things that they wanted to put into the game, where it would give players something big to work towards. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out, mainly because there's only 4 places, and you've got all the servers going to be trying to fight over, who gets to play with the new content first. Obviously with PvP it's a bit easier, because if you want it, you just go and take it. On PvE you've got to wait for it to decay, which, probably won't happen. But yes, we'll wait and see on that one. Anyway, I'm very happy with the patch list. Next we just wait and see how the patch release goes. If it goes really well, I'm going to be very happy for the Atlas team, because I think they need a bit of a break. They've had quite a lot of issues lately where, it's not necessarily their fault that things are going wrong. There's a lot on their plate that they're dealing with, and then something else just pops up and causes them a lot of hassles. So the new team seems to be working very, very hard, and if they can manage to get this patch out without hassle, I think it'll go a long way to allaying the people out there of how the new team is actually going. And then we'll move on to the next one, and hopefully we'll get a nice long big list of fixes for the patch afterwards. But we'll have to wait and see for that one. Anyway, these has been the Atlas patch notes. I am Scout. Make sure that if you enjoy these sorts of things, you go ahead and like the video, subscribe for more content, as I am playing Atlas amongst other things. And I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.